trustworthy. You know, there are some folks you can trust, and then there's some folks you can't trust them any further than you can throw them. You can trust your Heavenly Father. He will not lie to you. He will never tempt you with evil. He'll never break a promise as long as we meet the conditions of the promises. He will never deceive you. You can trust your Heavenly Father with your very life. On the other hand, you cannot trust Satan. He will lie to you. Satan will tempt you with evil. Satan is incapable of keeping a promise. He will deceive you. You can't trust Satan any further than you can throw him. You can't trust your Heavenly Father. Can He trust you? Let's begin our study today in Genesis chapter 22. First book of the Bible, Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. We ask that word of wisdom in Yeshua's precious name. Father, we ask you to open eyes, open ears this day. We pick it up with Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham. This word is better prove. The word tempt would better be translated to prove. Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And God's going to prove Abraham. He wants to know, can I trust this servant? And you know what? He needs to prove his weapons. We're in a spiritual war. And you, beloved, are his weapon at this point in time. And he'll test your okra to make sure that he can depend on you. Can he trust you? And he said, Take now thy son, this is Isaac, of course, thine only son Isaac. Christ was God's only begotten son. Do you see the type? Whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. You see, there's a problem with this. God had told Abraham back in the previous chapter that in Isaac's name would his seed be called. In other words, the stars of heaven that God promised that would be born through Abraham depended on this one son, Isaac. And here God's telling him, I want you to sacrifice your son. Would Abraham trust in the Lord? Moriah, of course, called Golgotha, called the Mount of Olives, many different names, but the same geographical location. It's where the temple would eventually be built, Solomon's temple. Verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, 2 of his servants, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place of which God had told him. Did Abraham question God? Did he say, wait a minute, God, you told me that in Isaac would my seed be called? No, he didn't question. He had faith. He trusted in our Heavenly Father. Then on the 3rd day, Christ would be in the tomb 3 days. You see the types written all over this. The 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off, Mount Moriah. And Abraham said unto his young men, his servants, Abide ye here with the ass. You wait here. And I and the lad, Isaac, will go yonder and worship and come again to you. Interesting, the language that he uses here. You see, he knows that he's going to sacrifice Isaac, his son, but he also knows that Isaac is going to return with him. He has faith that God would, if he did sacrifice his son, that God would raise him up, as God raised up another some 1900 years later. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son to carry, in other words. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. The fire, no doubt, from his own altar at his home, and a censer, of course. He didn't take it barehanded. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? We've got fire, we've got wood, and no doubt Isaac had witnessed sacrifices before. And he's saying, wait a minute, we don't have a lamb. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb. Provide himself in the Hebrew, Yeri Yeshua. God will provide a lamb for the burnt offering. So they went both of them together. Verse 9. And they came to the place which God had told him of, Moriah, Calvary, Golgotha. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. He was going to do this. There's no doubt in his mind. God instructed him to do it. He was going to do it. And the angel of the Lord, that's usually 99% of the time, that's the Lord himself, manifesting himself to where man can see him. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he, this is a capital H if you have a companion Bible, said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest, or you revere, obey, and trust God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. God would not withhold his only son either. Some 1900 years later, Jesus Christ, he sacrificed his son. He asked Abraham to sacrifice his son, but he didn't require it. Whereas God would sacrifice his only begotten son, Jesus Christ. Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. In the Hebrew, Yahweh Yeri, the Lord will provide. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yeri, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen, on Mount Moriah. Verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven a second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord. The Lord taking an oath on himself. There is no greater oath. For because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Where are they? All these children. I mean, that's a bunch. The number of the stars of heaven, the sands of the sea. Are they in some little nation in the Middle East? No. Abraham's seed became the 12 tribes of Israel. And after the captivity, the 10 northern tribes went north over the Caucasus Mountains, thus becoming known as the Caucasian peoples of the world, settling in Europe, migrating to the United States. That's where his children that are as numerous as the stars of heaven and the sands of the sea are. Verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Many of you have a Bible that after that verse you have a star. That star indicates that 99% of scholars believe that this verse refers to Messiah. And that is the promise. That is the reason all nations of the world would be blessed, because Jesus Christ, who God sacrificed for the sins of the world. Abraham trusted the Lord with his only son's life. You know, there's someone else that wants you to trust him. Turn with me to Judges chapter 9. Judges chapter 9. Now, kind of bring you up to where we are here. Gideon was a judge of Israel. And so it doesn't tell you right off, his name also was Jerubbaal. Why did his father call him Jerubbaal? Well, he tore down an altar that was built to worship and sacrifice to Baal. The Baal worshipers came to Gideon's father's house and said, "Send out your son that we can kill him." And he said, "Hey, if Baal wants to kill my son, tell Baal to fight himself." That's what Jerubbaal means. Baal will contend, or Baal will strive. But Gideon had 70 sons, and Abimelech was his son by one of his concubines. And that's where we pick it up. Gideon has passed away in chapter 9 of Judges, verse 1. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, that's Gideon, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, indicating that his family was not of Israel on his mother's side, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, and this is Shechem was in Ephraim originally. Joshua 21:21 will document. Verse 2, "Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether is better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal," that's Gideon, "which are 70 persons, reign over you. Would you rather have me as your ruler, one of your own flesh and blood brethren, or would you rather one of, or all, he's saying, of Gideon's 70 sons to rule over you?" "Remember also, I am your bone and your flesh," to conclude that second verse, verse 3. "And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother, he is our flesh and blood. And they gave him, Abimelech, 70 pieces of silver, 1 piece of silver for each of Gideon's 70 sons, out of the house of Baal-berith, wherein Abimelech hired vain and light persons." These are empty or worthless people, which followed him. He hired him a posse to ride with him. Now, this is a bit ironic. Baal-berith, in Joshua 24:1 and the following verses, Shechem is where Joshua called Israel together to renew the covenant with Yahweh, the covenant God. Do you know what berith of Baal-berith means? It means covenant. So here they're making a covenant with Baal where they should be making a covenant with the Lord. Verse 5, "And he, Abimelech, went into his father's house," this is Gideon or Jerubbaal, "at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself." 69 of Gideon's sons killed execution style on one stone. That tells you what kind of guy Abimelech is. He'll do anything for the people to have him be their leader, their king, including killing anyone else who might have a rightful claim. Verse 6. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain, this would be better, by the oak of the pillar that was in Shechem. Verse 7. And when they told it to Jotham, this is the only remaining son of Gideon, he went and stood in the top of Mount Gerizim. This is cutters in the Hebrew, if you just translate it rather than transliterate it. It rises some 800 feet over Shechem. It's quite an elevation for which he could address the people of Shechem. And lifted up his voice and cried, and said unto them, Hearken unto me, ye men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. Now this is the first parable that we find in God's Word. But it does have prophetic significance. Verse 8. The trees always symbolic of man. In the Garden of Eden, we had the tree of life, Jesus Christ, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which was Satan. The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, Reign thou over us. We just dedicated an infant with the oil of our people. The olive oil, the olive tree, also symbolic of the two witnesses. But the olive tree said unto them, Should I leave my fatness, my prosperity, in other words, wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees, over the other people? No way. And the tree said to the fig tree, Come thou and reign over us. Candidate number 2. This is part of the parable of the fig tree. Don't ever forget Jeremiah chapter 24. There are figs that produce good fruit. There are figs that don't produce good fruit. But the fig tree said unto them, Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit and go to be promoted over the trees, the people? I think not. Then said the trees unto the vine, Come thou and reign over us, be our king. And the vine said unto them, Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees, the people? No way. 3 candidates, 3 refusals. Then said all the trees unto the bramble, this is a thistle, always symbolic of Satan, Come thou and reign over us. Verse 15, and the bramble, again symbolic of Satan, said unto the trees, If in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. The cedars of Lebanon, always symbolic of the people of Israel, the children of God. One little problem, though, with the bramble, Satan promising that they could rest in his shadow. You see, a bramble doesn't put forth any shade. There is no shadow that you can rest in. So this parable, explaining it, is like a fake or a false king, such as Antichrist, who will return claiming to be the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ. Verse 16. The parable is over. Now Jotham speaks from his heart. Now therefore, if ye, the men of Shechem, have done truly and sincerely, in other words, if you've done right, in that ye have made Abimelech king, Abimelech being a type for the Antichrist, And if ye have dealt well with Jerubbaal, my father," Jotham speaking, "and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands." Gideon delivered Israel from terrible oppression to the Midianites. All of the nation of Israel, including Shechem. And what thanks does he get? They killed 69 of his sons. "For my father fought for you and adventured his life far. He risked his neck for you and delivered you out of the hand of Midian." And again, what thanks did he get? You killed 69 of his sons. "And ye are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons." You're as guilty as they are. You have blood on your hands. You remember the 70 pieces of silver? 70 persons upon one stone, and have made Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, his concubine, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. You have blood on your hands. You're just as guilty as Abimelech. "If ye then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you." You deserve each other, is basically what he's saying. Unfortunately, many will rejoice in Antichrist as well. "But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem." This would come to pass later in this very chapter. "And the house of Milo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Milo, and devour Abimelech." You know what Satan's outcome is? Fire is going to devour him from within. Ezekiel chapter 28, he was full of beauty and wisdom, was Satan. God promoted him to be a cherub that protects the mercy seat. And what happened? He got all puffed up in himself. He got on an ego trip. And he wanted to sit on the mercy seat. He didn't want to be the one protecting the mercy seat. God sentenced Satan at that point, Ezekiel 28, verses 18 and 19, to be devoured from fire within. He said, "I'm going to turn you to ashes from within." Judgment Day will be quite different for those that are wicked and those who trust in the Lord. Turn over with me to Psalms 37. Psalm 37 is an acrostic psalm, meaning that in the Hebrew language, there is some unique things about this psalm. In the Hebrew language, so that I don't lose you or confuse you, each of the Hebrew letters has 4 lines in the verse. I'm going to call it for lack of a better term. That is with the exception of 3 of the verses. 7, 20, and 34 only have 3 lines in the Hebrew language, and it sets a special note on them. But if ever you feel like the wicked get ahead, that the wicked always win, they always have more money than everyone else. Drug dealers, for example, they have lots of money. They have a nice car. They dress in nice clothes. If you ever think the wicked get ahead, remember this psalm, Psalm 37, verse 1. "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity." Don't envy their wealth, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Have you ever mowed the lawn and the grass blows out in the street? And at first it's green, but then it kind of turns a yellowish green, and then it turns brown. And then a car drives by and the wind blows it away. That's what the wicked receive. They're cut off. And why would you want to envy someone like that? Would you want to enjoy the same rewards that they're going to in the lake of fire? I would hope not. Verse 3, the reason we came here. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Verse 4, delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. You know, God owns everything. And when you please him, he likes to bless you. Verse 5, commit thy way unto the Lord. This Bullinger makes a note, I believe it's Bullinger, that this commit, it means roll your burdens unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it pass. You know, when you've done all you can do with a problem in your life, a burden in your life, turn it over to the Lord. Roll it over to him. He encourages you to do that here. Some of us have a hard time rolling our burdens over to him to commit them. We think we can do it ourselves. We like to think no one else could do it except ourselves. Verse 6, and he, the Lord, shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday, and as surely as noon follows the rising of the sun. Here's the first of our acrostic verses, verse 7. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, the ways of the world, in other words, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Don't worry about it. God keeps excellent records. We all get exactly what we deserve on Judgment Day. And again, would you want to be in their shoes, the wicked, on Judgment Day? I think not. Verse 8, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Verse 9, for evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. Cut off means they're gone forever. More on that in a moment. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, they shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. The wicked will be gone. Where did they go? Into the lake of fire, of course, on Judgment Day. But the meek, or the humble, shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. Rest in the Lord and patiently wait for the Prince of Peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Verse 13, the Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. Don't ever forget this verse. Judgment and execution of the soul. Everyone receives, again, what we deserve on Judgment Day. The wicked, execution of the soul. That's the lake of fire. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor. This is the afflicted or the humble, and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation, those who do things right. Their sword shall, the wicked in other words, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. It's God's war, and he wins. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. A righteous man can sleep good at night. Someone who has a house full of ill-gotten gains doesn't sleep good at night. He's probably always looking over his shoulder, wondering who's going to try and steal his ill-gotten gains from him. For the arms of the wicked, the power, in other words, of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. Verse 18, the Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. That's the group you want to be in, beloved, that your inheritance is forever. That's called the eternity. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, the tribulation, if you will. And in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. The days of the famine, Amos chapter 8, verse 11. The famine of the end times is not for food, bread, or water. It's for hearing the word of God. The famine is on. Our second of the three verses, verse 20. But the wicked shall perish. You think the wicked get ahead and they always win? The wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume into smoke, shall they consume away. Have you ever put a big old ribeye on the Barbie? And, you know, they've got a little bit of fat to them. Of course, the fat belongs to the Lord, but there's a little bit of fat in a ribeye. And when you put it on the Barbie and it's cooking hot, that fat, what does it do? It falls off the meat, or the grease of it falls off the meat down onto the Barbie, and it goes up in smoke forever and ever. That's exactly what the wicked get from the lake of fire. Up in smoke forever and ever. 21, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. The wicked borrow and they either won't or can't repay. For such as be blessed of him, the Lord, shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off in the lake of fire. You mean the Lord curses? Absolutely the Lord curses. Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28, we have the blessings and the curses of our Heavenly Father. 23, the steps of a good man are ordered or established by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Verse 24, though he, a good man, a righteous man, fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Wow, think about that. Have you ever had a toddler, you know, and as they're learning how to walk, I mean, it's kind of a weeble and a wobble there for a while, but the parent is right there behind them and ready to catch that hand if they start to go down. It's the same way with your Heavenly Father. If you're trying to do right and you start to go down, He's going to reach down and grab your hand and raise you up. Verse 25, I have been young and now am old. And this is a figure of speech that means my whole life. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Righteous people work. You're never going to see them begging. They're also blessed. You're never going to see them beg. 26, he, referring to the righteous, is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. The poor or the wicked borrow and they're not able to repay, but the righteous has enough that he can lend those who fall on hard times. Depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore. That's what we're all shooting for, is to dwell forevermore, eternity. For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The tares are going to be gathered and burned by the angels. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment or justice, that which is right. The law of his God is in his heart, or in his mind. None of his steps shall slide. When you know the law and the consequences of breaking the law, you try to stay on the right path. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. Satan wants company in the lake of fire. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, won't leave the righteous in the wicked's hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. God keeps his promises. Our third and final of the acrostic verses, 34. Wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall, not maybe, he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. You know what that means? That means that God's elect can be there when Satan and his go into the lake of fire. And you know, I know Christians that would probably go, ooh, I wouldn't want to see that. Boy, I do. I want a front row seat. When Satan goes into that lake of fire, I'd like to have a front row seat. Why? Because I've seen what that rascal has done to my brothers and sisters in Christ. Into the lake of fire for Satan and his. Do the wicked get ahead? No. Verse 35, I have seen the wicked in great power. Oh, there's a wicked one coming that's going to be in great power. He's called the Antichrist. And spreading himself like a green bay tree, trying to be like one of the cedars of Lebanon. Or even worse, as it's written in Isaiah 14, he's going to promote himself above God. He wants to be that green fir tree of Hosea 14:8. 36, yet he passed away, and lo, he was not, into the abyss for 1,000 years. I sought him, but he could not be found, just like the wicked in verse 10. I went to their place and looked, and they were gone. Mark the perfect man, the pious or the righteous man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Do you have peace? But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off into the lake of fire. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. Yes, even in the day of Jacob's trouble when Antichrist is here. Verse 40 to complete the chapter. And the Lord shall help them that deliver them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them. Why? Because they trust in him. You can trust in the Lord without question. Can he trust you? Turn with me to Luke chapter 16. New Testament. Luke chapter 16, verse 1. Jesus speaking. And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. This word wasted figuratively is squandered. What he did was he embezzled the goods. The rich man, of course, in this parable is the Lord. We are all his servants. We are all his stewards. He entrusts us with gifts, and he expects us to produce fruit with those gifts. He doesn't want us squandering or embezzling and taking from him. This is an example of how it is in the world today. Verse 2. And he called him, the rich man, the Lord called his steward, and said unto him, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship. You know, we're all going to be called to account for our stewardship as well. Are you ready? For thou mayest be no longer steward. You're fired. You're not going to be my steward anymore. Then the steward said within himself, he said to himself, What shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. I'm out of shape. I'm too weak to dig a ditch for a living. And to beg, I'm ashamed. It would be disgraceful for me to be out on the street with a cup begging. Isn't it kind of strange that he wasn't ashamed to embezzle, but he is ashamed to beg? I am resolved, or I know what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. Those who owe my master are going to receive me into the house because I'm going to do them a good old boy favor. Verse 5. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, How much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, Take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. He owed 100 measures of oil, but he cut what he owed 50. Why is he doing that? Because he wants the debtor to owe him. So when he's put out of the stewardship, the debtor will receive him into his house. Notice quickly, it's in secret and in a hurry. Then said he to another, And how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, Take thy bill and write 80. Write 80. Did you notice he gave the first one 50% discount? He only gave the second one a 20% discount. I guess the second one didn't have a nice house, or maybe he didn't have a pool. Verse 8, And the Lord commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely, shrewdly. For the children of the world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. What he's saying is, yeah, you might be wise in the ways of the world, but are you going to get ahead in the long run? And I say unto you, better do I say unto you, no. Make to yourselves friends of the mammon, that's riches, of unrighteousness, ill-gotten gains, that when ye fail, when you die, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. They're going to receive you into hell, into the lake of fire. He that is faithful or truthful, trustworthy in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. You can't be trusted. Verse 11. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches of God? Verse 12, and if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Verse 13, no servant can serve two masters, for either you will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. In conclusion, turn quickly with me to Revelation chapter 3. There's an awesome reward for those who trust God. and can be trusted of him. I'm speaking of his election, of course. In conclusion, Revelation chapter 3, let's go with verse 7. And to the angel of the church of Philadelphia, that's brotherly love. That's why they call people from Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. Write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. That key of David, the knowledge that Jesus Christ, out of the root of Jesse, the father of David, would come Messiah. Verse 8, I know thy works, the words of Jesus Christ. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. Why? Because you have the key of David. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. I trust you, is what the Lord's saying. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, they say they are of Judah, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. You're not going to be tempted by Antichrist. Why? He's an abomination to you, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Verse 11, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. I say to you, hold fast. Don't let anyone take your crown. Verse 12, him that overcometh, him who overcometh the Antichrist, will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my Lord, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Trust, it's something that you have to earn. And all of us, every day, we're subjected to temptations in the world. But never fail your Father. He trusts you, and don't let him down. Let's go to his throne. Yahweh, Heavenly Father, we thank you for your written word, Father, the instruction book of how to go through this life and be happy in the flesh, Father. We ask that you be with us the rest of this day, Father. Let us, everything that we do the rest of this day, be to the honor and glory of thy name. We're always careful to give you the praise in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
The Mark of the Beast on CD is our free introductory offer to you. What is the Mark of the Beast? Many false teachers would have you believe it will be a tattoo on your forehead or a computer chip implanted under your skin. It's getting late in the game. You need to know what the Mark of the Beast is. As it's written in Revelation chapter 13, verse 8, many will be deceived. Christ said in Mark 13:23, behold, I have foretold you all things. Jesus indeed told us how not to be deceived, and Pastor Arnold Murray takes you on a step-by-step study of God's Word concerning this critical subject. The telephone call is free, the CD is free, no shipping and handling. Just call 800-643-4645 to request your one-time, one-per-household copy of The Mark of the Beast. You may also mail your request to Shepherd's Chapel, P.O. Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. Don't be deceived by Satan.
Only during the first and heaven and earth age. There was no flesh man. Now there was flesh, and we read about the dinosaurs in Job chapter 40. They're called behemoth in the King James Version Bible. But there were dinosaurs on earth. They existed in the first and earth and heaven age, but there was no flesh man at that point in time. And we have Andrew from North Carolina. Could you please help me out with something I thought I heard Pastor Murray say? When you say the name Isaac, you also say Saxon, because Isaac means Saxon of the Anglo, that is to say, such as the Anglo-Saxon people. Could you please straighten out my mind on this? I hope I'm not running two things together. Pastor Arnold was an awesome teacher. You and your staff are top-notch also. Thank you. And Andrew is at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, airborne. And we thank you, Andrew, for serving our country. Isaac, you're asking about what the name means. If you translate it, it means laughter. Why? Because when the angel of the Lord told Sarai that she was going to give birth to a son, she was 90 years old, and she laughed within herself that she could be a mother at such a late time in life. Now, what you are kind of confusing, or what you heard Pastor Murray talking about, was the descendants of Isaac. They are called Isaac's sons, and that is where the name Saxon comes from. That's what you're confusing. God bless you, and thanks again for serving in our country. Go airborne. Joan, and I don't know where Joan's from, please tell us about how it will be on the day that Jesus returns. Will it be scary? Well, if you wait for him, it will be wonderful. If you find yourself and you're deceived into worshiping the Antichrist, then it could be kind of scary when Jesus returns. Why? Because you're already worshiping this guy who claims to be Jesus Christ, and you're going to realize you've been worshiping the wrong Messiah. You're going to have been worshiping the Antichrist. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, and people will be praying for mountains to fall on them. Why? Because they're going to be so ashamed that they sat in a church pew for decade after decade, and then they ended up worshiping the wrong Christ. They're deceived. Don't be deceived. Robert in Tennessee, after the six-day creation, can you please help explain this? After the sixth-day creation, who did the races worship? When Adam and Eve's children left out and married into tribes, who did these people worship? In other words, when did God, our Creator, become known to the earliest of human mankind? Well, God said in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, to the angels, he said, "Let us make man in our image." And then he said to those people, the six-day creation, that for them to be fruitful and multiply. So they knew, they may have not known who he was, but they knew he existed because he communicated with them. He said, "Be fruitful and multiply." The earliest that he spoke with Adam and Eve, Genesis chapter 2, or the first commandment that he gave to Adam and Eve, you'll find in Genesis chapter 2, verses 16 and 17, where he told them, of every tree in the Garden of Eden you can freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you are not to partake of that. He commanded them not to do that. That was the cause of the fall of man. Karen in North Carolina, were the Cherokee Indians from the six-day creation or the Adamic race? Well, the Adamic race means ruddy complected, means able to show blood in the face. Native American Indians, in my opinion, are descendants of the six-day creation. And when God had made them, in the last verse of chapter 1 of Genesis, he looked upon all he had created, and it was good. Heidi, it was very good. Heidi in Arkansas, if it was bad, If it was bad that the fallen angels impregnated women, why isn't it bad that the Holy Spirit impregnated Mary? Well, the first wasn't in God's plan. The fallen angels refused to be born of woman. They came to earth against God's plan that all be born of woman in this, the second earth and heaven age. And they knew and took women, and children resulted. They were freaks, giants, freaks of nature. They were giants. The second, you mentioned, the holy conception of Mary, the second was God's plan of salvation for the world. There's a huge difference. Donald in Texas, in 2 Kings, how was Isaiah killed? Well, you won't find in 2 Kings the death of Isaiah recorded, and nowhere in the King James Version Bible will you find the death of Isaiah, but tradition, and again I say tradition, don't misquote me, states that when Isaiah was 90 years old, he was sawn in sunder, meaning in two, in the trunk of a carob tree by order of Manasseh, who was probably the most evil, wicked king of Israel, or Judah, I should say, that ever existed. That's by the tradition of men. I'm out of time. I love you a great deal. Why? Because you enjoy studying God's Word in depth. It makes God's day when He looks down and He sees you studying the letter He wrote to you, the Bible. Blessings always follow. We are brought to you by your tithes and offerings. If we've helped you, help us keep coming to you and to reach out to others of our brothers and sisters who are lost in this world of darkness. Most important this, though, you stay in His Word every day, and Father's Word is a good day, even with trouble. Do you know why? It's because Jesus is the living Word.
Hearing God's Word with understanding will change your life. We hope you have enjoyed studying God's Word here on the Shepherd's Chapel Family Bible Study Hour with Pastor Arnold Murray. If you would like to receive more information concerning Shepherd's Chapel, you may request our free introductory offer. Our introductory offer contains the Mark of the Beast audio tape, our monthly newsletter with a written Bible study, a tape catalog, and a list of written reference works available through Shepherd's Chapel. To request our free introductory offer by telephone, call 800-643-4645 24 hours a day. You may also request our introductory offer by writing to Shepherd's Chapel, Post Office Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. Once again, that's Shepherd's Chapel, Post Office Box 416, Gravette, Arkansas 72736. We invite you to join us for the next in-depth Bible study each weekday at this same time. Thank you for watching today's program, and God bless you.